Welcome to the Abyss. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Drew Gillen. I'm the CEO and co-founder. In this video, I'm going to go into detail on how to read our documentation with some pro tips on how to use our APIs. This video will be more tailored towards developers, although I'll keep everything as simple as possible for both beginners and non-developers as well. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is go to abyiss.com. I'll put a link in the description below, and then we're going to open up our documentation right here. I'll put a link to our documentation down there as well too. So in our documentation here, you can see that documentation is broken up into three parts. We have the introduction section, the REST API section, and then the changes section. In the introduction section, we just go over some important features regarding our API. The REST API section has all of our API endpoints where you get the data, while the changes section, we go into detail with upcoming changes and our changelog. One thing to note is that our documentation, APIs, and website are all constantly being upgraded, so don't be surprised if anything looks a little different on your end when you're watching this. So let's dive right in. So I'm going to go first into the introduction section here. Now, as you can see, we're on the Welcome tab. And in the Welcome tab, it's just a brief introduction to our APIs. And then we have the Getting Started with Abyiss video right here. I'd recommend watching this if you're a beginner too. It shows you how to actually use our APIs, sign up for the site and everything if you're a beginner. And in the next tab here, we have the reading documentation. This is actually where this video will be linked. And in here, we just go over some pro tips on how to read our documentation, be patient, review the terms, read slowly, reread things, click the drop down arrows, read the overviews, Google anything you don't understand. I'd say this is probably the most important. If you're having trouble with anything, definitely go out and research it a little bit. And then finally, contact us if you're having trouble. You know, we're here to serve you, we're here to help you. So if you're having trouble with anything, please reach out to our support email. In the next tab here, we have Getting Started. So in this tab, we go over a couple different sections here. This is how to get started with our APIs. Um, let's review it a little bit here. So we have right here, it says the Abyiss API allows you to connect to 100 plus major cryptocurrency exchanges while tracking 10,000 plus assets in real time. The data that you access through the Abyiss API also differs based on your plan. So if you have a higher plan, you get access to more data. And then here we talk about how to get your API keys. So I'll show you that super quickly, how to get your API key. So you go to abyiss.com, you click the sign in button right here. I'm going to sign in with my GitHub account, and then it redirects you to your dashboard, and then right here is your API key. So you do need your API key to access our API endpoints and validate the requests. So you do need your API key, you do need to be signed in to get that key, so keep that in mind. Then we talk about available endpoints. I'll go into that in detail when we get to the REST API section. Talk about making your first request. So to make your first request, you can just right click this link right here and then it will ping our API. And as you can see, it says hello from the Abyiss. So that's one way to make your first request. You don't need your API key to ping this endpoint either. Take note of that. So let's see. Oh yeah, another thing to note is that all of the response objects are returned as JSON encoded responses. So everything is returned as a JSON response. Go with the response object, copy and paste code. So we have some client libraries where you can access copy and paste code. So we wrote out some code here to that you can copy and paste into your into VS Code or PyCharm, whatever you use. We also have some curl endpoints. We're going to add some more code examples here with JavaScript, Node.js, Python, Ruby, all these other languages. And then down in the client library section, we're not going to get into detail too much right now with client libraries, but we have client libraries in Python, JavaScript, and then standard HTTP or curl requests. And then down here it says if you need support, reach out to us. The next thing, the API architecture. So this is some pro tips and unique characteristics and the core concepts behind our API. Here we talk about API keys and authentication. So generate your API key, like I showed you, go to your dashboard, you give your key. So that's how you get your API key permissions. So API key functionality is restricted by your account plan. Free plans are given permissions to access the reference data, while the premium plans get access to some market data, or all the market data, depending on your plan. And then to learn more about our pricing and plans, definitely check out the pricing section on our website where we go into a breakdown comparing the difference between the plans and the data that you have access to. So passing your API key. So you can pass your API key in the URL of the query or in the header of a request. We recommend passing it in the header of a request as it provides a little bit more security than using it as through the URL. But I'll show you both ways. So to pass it through the URL, you just after the equal sign right here in the URL, you just drop in your key. For example, this is how you would drop it in. It would look something like this. I have my key right here after the equal sign. And then to pass it in the header of a request, you could do this through curl or Python. Normally, this would have to be done in some type of programming language. Um, so that's how you pass your API key. The server URL, this is just the base URL of how to hit our API. Right now we're in version 1, so api.abyiss.com/v1. All requests should be prefixed to the server URL. The requests here, let's see. So we go in this section, we talk about the errors and successes. So if you have a error, these are some common error codes. So in the event that, let's see, let's try to do this. You see unauthorized, so invalid. So this is an error, you could say. And here we go over some of the errors that you would see. So status code 400, 401, 402, 403. These for debugging purposes in your code if you're hitting any errors. Success, it will return status code 200, and that's kind of the success and error codes. Pagination. So this one is kind of cool. On default, we limit our requests. So I'll show you guys actually what I mean by this. So let's go to the trades endpoint here. So by default, we display, I believe it's 200 trades on default. Let me see. Yeah, so there's a lot of trades here. But if you want more, what you can do is using pagination, you can add in after, right here, after or before the API key, you could add this question mark and limit, and then you can increase it to 500 trades. So I'll show you what that would look like. So in this case, we type in limit and equals 500, and that, let's see if that works. And now we have 500 trades here. We could also set this number to lower. So if we want to do 10, this shows 10 trades now. And if we want to do, we could do like 400, or, let's do like 420 for fun here. So now we have 420 trades, and this is how you can limit the amount of trades on your screen. The maximum is 500. Default is either, I believe it's 200, so we'll have to fix that number there. So that's how you increase the amount of data in each request. You can also increase the amount of data for your aggregate bars, what the candlesticks look like. Let's go into this. Return types. So we talk about the timestamps, IDs, and nonce. So I'll explain this briefly here. So in regards to timestamps, all of our API timestamps are returned in Unix time as strings. So make sure you can parse like the Unix time. For reference, you can also use the Unix time conversion tool here. I linked a tool here for you guys for any debugging purposes. So Unix time, that's all the timestamps are returned in Unix time. IDs, all identifiers are returned as strings and are exchange specific. So meaning all the IDs are unique to each individual crypto exchange. So the trade IDs and the aggregate IDs or whatever ID it may be is a unique ID specific to Coinbase, for example, or Binance or FTX. While the nonce, I believe I'm pronouncing that correct. Maybe I'm wrong. So newts are returned as strings and are exchange specific as well. They're very similar to the IDs. And so that means that they're specific to each individual crypto exchange. And to learn more about the specific IDs or the newts, I would check out some of the individual exchanges documentation to get some clarification on those. So here we talk about rate limits. Probably the most important thing to note from this is that we do throttle public endpoints by about 10 requests per second, 10 to 15 requests per second in bursts. So some endpoints may have custom rate limits. So if you're spamming our APIs, we'll only allow about 10 requests, 10 to 15 requests per second to go through. That way you don't overspam them. Whereas if you have premium an account, then it's unlimited and we try to process them as quickly as we can. So our data center here, this is where our data centers are located. So we use the IBM cloud in the U.S. East Washington region, so in the East Coast of the U.S. Supported exchanges. In total, at the moment, we support 118 cryptocurrency exchanges and trading APIs. We are constantly adding more, and if there's anything that you're looking for or specifically request, we will add it. So put a comment below if there's any exchanges that you want some data from. So there's a nice list here. We have all the big major exchanges from all around the world. And then finally, in the introduction section here, we go into client libraries. So we linked here our PyPit package for Python, and then our npm package for JavaScript, as well as our GitHub repositories for each of those. So let's try this. So this is our PyPit package if you write code in Python, and then the GitHub repository too. So I recommend checking this out if you get stuck or have any questions with any of the client libraries that we have. You can see we have the npm package here too for JavaScript, and then we have a standard HTTP client. So that is the kind of introduction section there as a whole. Now let's hop into the REST API section. So we have the REST API, we've broken up into the reference data and the market data. The reference data these are all public endpoints, so anyone with a free account can access all of our reference data, whereas the majority of the market data, you do need a paid premium account to access some of it. So we'll go through each of these. Another thing to note here too is that all of these, the layouts of the API endpoints, so all the pages, the way these are structured, are the same. So we keep that for consistency and simplicity. Try and make it a little bit easier to use. So I'll run through each of these endpoints quickly here. So at the top we have the name of the endpoint, the description, we have the actual URL that you'd hit, and then we have the status. So this is like what it would look like if it was a successful request. So this is an example response. And then this is what it would look like if it was an unauthorized request. So a failure, that's what it would look like. And then we have some of the query parameters here. So you need your API key to add that into the URL query to get that to work. So if we hit this endpoint, it returns an array of all the supported exchanges that we have. And then down here, we have some copy and paste code on how to actually access this. If you're a developer, you can drop this code right into whatever library you're working in and get it to work. Here we have an example URL. I think these example user URLs are the most useful because you can just open this in a new tab and get everything to work. And so this is the response object, what it returns if the request goes through. And then we have the response attributes. So we have the attribute name. So as you see, name, and then the data type, this name is a string, and then the description. So the name is the official name of the exchange, and then the ID is also a string. It's the unique exchange identifier used by Abyiss. So we keep this pattern consistent across all our endpoints. So now I'll quickly run through each of these endpoints here. So we have the exchange count. This just returns the total amount of exchanges that we're connected to. We have the exchange details. This returns individual details and information about each individual exchange. So here is an example response from Coinbase Pro. We have the name of the exchange, our unique identifier, the country that the exchange is in, whether it has trades, which is true, if it has aggregates or candlesticks, then the time frames of each of the aggregates that they support. So Coinbase Pro supports all these aggregates: a minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, 6 hours, and 1 day. Coinbase Pro supports all of these aggregates. And then the exchange URL, and then the URLs to the exchange fees. So Coinbase Pro and other exchanges have different fee structures, so we link those in here too. And then we link to their documentation, and then the company logo here too. And down here we break this apart as well. So the response attributes, in simple language, we kind of break down what each one of these mean. And one thing to note here too is that not every exchange will have the same aggregate timeframes. Not every exchange will support trades or support aggregates, so some of this information will be missing. So keep that in mind. The exchange status, this is just you hit this endpoint and this will return whether whether or not the exchange is currently live or if it's offline or whatever it may be, the current status of the exchange. So the exchange markets. So I'll show you this one. So this is all of the cryptocurrency pairs listed on the exchange. So these are all of the cryptocurrencies and the markets listed on Coinbase Pro right now. So there's a lot of them here. So let's see, 467. Let's take a look at Binance. Let's see, Binance has almost 2,000. Wow. So 2,000 active markets on Binance. Pretty cool. Close all these. So that's how you get all the current trading pairs or the current markets listed on each exchange. And we have all of the assets listed on every exchange that we support. We track all the transactions for. So we have market details. So if we want to get specific information regarding a specific market or crypto pair on each exchange, then we can definitely do that with this endpoint. So for example, if we want to get some more data regarding Bitcoin and USD on Coinbase Pro, we can hit this endpoint and we can figure out, okay, what are the maker and taker fees? What type of market is it? Is it a spot market or a derivatives market? What is the percentage? The base, the quote, the active. Is this pair active, the ID, the symbol, stuff like this. And then we break this down here too. So if you're confused about any of this language that we're using, I recommend checking out the descriptions to kind of clear things up there. So that's all of our reference data. We are going to be adding more endpoints here in the future too. So if there's anything that you're looking for, let us know. Let's move on to the market data. So the market data, this is like paid premium data for our higher end paid plans. Although we do have some endpoints here for public use. So we have the current price endpoint. This returns the current real-time price of a crypto pair. So we can go to, this is a free plan, free to access as well. So if we want to go to our dashboard here, copy the key, we can get the current price of Bitcoin USD on Coinbase Pro. So this is the current price of Bitcoin USD at this time, the timestamp, Coinbase Pro. That's how that works, and you can get it for all the markets on all the exchanges that we support. And there's a difference between the prices across the exchanges too, which is interesting. The other endpoint that we have here is the aggregates endpoint. This is also a free endpoint to access. So this endpoint returns the candlesticks, the open, high, low, close, and you can change the time frame on this one too. So I'll show you down here. So the aggregate size. So you can query or make a request to get the 1 minute aggregates, make a request to get 5 minute aggregates, 15-minute aggregates, 1 hour, 6 hours, and 1 day. So you can query different aggregates depending on whatever you're looking for. So I'll show you what the 1 minute aggregates look like. This video is getting a little long here, so I'll try to make this as quickly as possible. We're almost done here. So these are 1 minute aggregates on Coinbase Pro for Bitcoin USD. A lot of 1 minute aggregates. You have the open, high, low, close, volume, candlesticks. And you can use this data to build out stock charts or do really a lot of different things with this. So here we have the last aggregate. This returns the latest aggregate for a crypto pair. So the latest 1 minute aggregate, latest 5 minute aggregate, 1 hour, 1 day, whatever it may be. This is how you get the latest aggregate here. This returns just one aggregate too, by the way. So trades, this returns a list of trades, so all the buying and the selling, the most recent trades that have occurred on the exchange for a given market. And yeah, this is what this endpoint does. And there's, like I said, we're tracking over 100,000 transactions per second, or per minute, sorry. So there's a lot of data coming through here. So all the trades that you need, you can query them by using this endpoint. Last trade, this returns the latest trade that just happened on a given exchange. So with this example URL returns the latest trade on Coinbase Pro for Bitcoin. And then the snapshot URL, this one's interesting right here. This returns the latest snapshot, so we contain some information regarding the current price, the latest 1 minute aggregate, the latest 5 minute aggregates, the latest 15, 1 hour, 6 hours, and 1 day. So it returns all the latest aggregates across all the time frames as well as the latest price. This is a useful aggregate because there's a lot of information here. Note this endpoint does require the developer subscription, and the trades aggregates, the trades endpoint requires a starter subscription. Let's see. And then we have the quotes. So this endpoint, the quotes endpoint is still under development, so I'm not going to dive into this, although it does require the advanced subscription here. The last endpoint that I will show you guys is the order book. So this one is actually pretty cool. We have full level 2 order books from all the exchanges that we support. Oh, my account is, I don't have a high enough account. Let me fix this. All right, I'm back. So I just signed into my other account. That is the enterprise plan, access to all of our data. So let me go here and I'll show you the order books. So this is the level 2 order book endpoint. So this returns all of the bids and the asks on any exchange for any given market. So in this example here, let's see, it's formatting. We're going to get all of the bids and the asks on Coinbase Pro for Bitcoin. So you can see there's a lot of data here. We have all these bids and all these asking prices. Let me close this. So there is 19,250 bids on Coinbase Pro in the Bitcoin market right now, and 22,288 asks. So bids are buying the buyers, asks are the sellers, and the way this is broken down is you have the price that the person wants to, in this case, buy at, and the quantity or the amount of Bitcoin that they want to buy at this price. And then you also see here at the top, we have the notes. This is like a unique identifier for the order book on the given exchange. And then we have the market, like I said, Bitcoin on Coinbase Pro. So it's really interesting. We go into full level depth on all of these. We also support, for every exchange, we have these markets too. So for Binance, can do Binance, and we can get these order books for Bitcoin USDT. Here we go. So Binance limits their order books to 100, 100 deep. It doesn't give you the full order book, but so it gives you the top 100, and this is how it works. So you have the current price that they're willing to buy at, and the amount of Bitcoin that they're willing to buy at that price. So this guy's willing to buy 0.27 Bitcoin at this price. So that's that endpoint, and that kind of wraps up our market data section. So let's move on to the final section here, the changes section. Some important things I think you guys should know about in the coming future is we plan on rolling out some major updates in the coming weeks. The thing I'm most excited for is the dashboards and for data visualization, easy graphs and real-time charts to understand the way money is being moved across the markets, across individual crypto pairs, and across exchanges as the whole. We also plan on incorporating WebSockets, historical data, increasing our amount of historical data, more reference data endpoints, more market data endpoints, some on-chain data too for our wallet tracking, and we also plan to offer money inflows and outflows to see how the money is being moved on-chain data as well. So for the on-chain Bitcoin data, Ethereum, stablecoins, Binance Smart Chain, and Solana, we like to add in all of this on-chain data in the coming future. And then down here, finally, we have our change log. Updates are coming soon to this. So that is the Abyiss documentation. It is a little confusing, so I would say definitely be patient, review the terms, read slowly, reread things, click the drop-down arrows, read the overviews, Google anything you don't understand, and contact us if you're having any trouble. Hopefully this video helps you guys, and the goal of this video is to jumpstart your journey with us, and I'd like to thank you so much for watching this video.